Hello, welcome. Welcome. So basically, in this wonderful individual reading, this will be for a Virgo. This will be for August 6th to August 13th of 2026. So you know what, Virgo, I understand what you're going through in every single way of how you've been doing, and there's always that temptation of to be or not to be, right? So the way of this is, if you're having your own physical outcome and you think, well, I don't like this anymore. Well, the way how this is, whether if you are having the right moves and the right category, that's how it's going to be. But this is how fascinating it is. So whether if you think to yourself and say, I need to do it, I need to be, well, ethic, whatever how I'm feeling, that's what it is. So Virgo, you need to pay attention to what you're doing in that way. You need to how it is, and when you focus on that, you need to understand that. You need to be, have your own physical outcome and try new things. Try to have different styles. Try to make the best of it, right? If you want to attract somebody, if you are into them, if you are saying, I want to act like this, that's how it is. So a Virgo can be, the all-in-one character, whether if they are having a great peace of mind of how it is. But the way this is, if it's very interesting, you have to play by the rules. You have to understand what you're going through in that way. Right? So that's how it goes. So let's see. What's going on here. So we have the terrorist is on transformation and the justice here. Justice up, you're telling the truth. So both of this is a wonderful feeling, like where you have, transformation is a different feeling, and the justice is upright is like you're telling the truth, right? So whether if you think to yourself and say, all right, well, I got this, that's what it is. So Virgo, you need to understand that, because the wonderful feeling, you need to, put up your way and saying, okay, well, this is how it goes, right? So that's what it seems to be. But when you focus on that, you have to focus on how you're feeling in every single way, right? So that's how it goes, okay? So let's see what's happening. So let's see. So it's between you versus them in this situation. Um, so this is going to be one way or another. But this is going to be how it is, how it's going to be in that way. And you think, okay, well, enough is enough. But the way this is the way it kind of goes in that way. Okay? So here it is. So basically, what I'm saying is to you, Virgo, we have basically the Hermit card. There's solitude. You might be looking for a soulmate. Maybe you are. Maybe you don't. But it all depends on how you're feeling in that way, right? If you want to have solitude, great. Now for them, they have the Tower moment because they have the transformation. Everything's going to be changing for them. Now, that's very interesting, but this is going to be how it's going to be in that way, right? This is going to be how casual it is, but I don't know how casual it's going to be, right? So, I'm not to be, making myself laugh here, but it's kind of fun when I just said that. So, the way of this is, Virgo, you need to pay attention what you're doing, but that way, okay? So let's see. So I'm going to clarify between the Hermit card for you, Virgo. Tarot Separate, there's transformation. King Cups first, there's no support. Three Cups first, you want celebration. Yeah, because you want to celebrate. You want things to be happening, and that's what you want, right? So if you have no support yet, that's what a Virgo needs to do. But whether if you're going to be celebrating on something, that's what it seems to be, because that's how it goes, right? So if you think about it, it's like, all right, well, this is going to continue. That's where it's at. Now, for them, let's say about this tarot card. High Priestess, they're using their voice. The World Tower, there's completion. Six Cards first, there's no movement. Three Pentacles first, there's no excitement. Two Wands first, there's no planning. Nine Cups first, there's no fulfillment. Nine Swords first, there's no trauma. Story first, there's no inspiration. Ace Pentacles, they want prosperity about money. Exactly. So they are looking for money in that way, and you might be focusing on their Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus, That's what they were focusing on. So for you, Virgo, if you're thinking that you want to have celebration, you want things to be happening, that's all good. But what this is, how can you that be possible to make possible, right? So if you do it, that's one way or another. Let's see what's the tarot moment for you, Virgo. Hermit's already there's solitude, so maybe you're looking for a soulmate. Ten of Swords, there's no conclusions. Strength is over, there's bravery. Yeah, because you want to be brave, you don't be scared, right? So the way of this is, Virgo, if you want to have the participation and you want to participate to be brave, that's what you want, right? You want to be brave because of how you're feeling, and that's how it goes, right? So whether you think that, oh, okay, everything's fine, that's what it is. So if you think that you want to be, be perfect, and you want to draw into a Leo as a fire sign, that's what's going to be happening in that way. Let me clarify the Strength card. The Seven Sorcerers, you're not feeling deceit. Treasury, there's progress. Just so you're telling the truth. Exactly. You want things to happen one way or another because you need to understand that. You need to shift your own way of knowing what to do, and that's what it's going to be, right? So whether you act like this, you think, okay, well, I need to understand that. That's what it's going to be happening. What is this Ace of Pentacles about for them? Ace of Wands, they want new beginnings. Page 1 is already there's invention. Nine Pentacles, they have no trust. Five Pentacles, they're not feeling insecurity. Here first, there's no guidance. Four Sorcerers, there's no recuperation. Two Swords is upright. They don't know which path they're going to take, left or right. Nine Wands, there's fear. And the Page of Swords, there's education. Exactly. They want to get educated, but they're having fear. And if they're having fear over you, Virgo, that's what they want. But if things are not going as planned, what's the issue? What, right? What's the issue for them? So let's see what's between this 9 Wands and this Page of Swords. The 10 Pentacles is upright. They want wealth. Yeah, because they want money. So if you want to tell the truth and they want money, that's how it's going to be. But it's going to be their own game, right? The game is whether it's kind of like almost like a cat and mouse, right? It's like that cat wants to wait for the mouse to appear, and the mouse is hiding, right? So the way of this is, if you're in a relationship or not, Virgo, you have to pay attention to how you're feeling in that way. You might be dealing with an air sign as a Gemini sign or a Libra sign, but the way this is, if you focus on your abilities to understand what you want and what you get and what you provide, that's what's going to be happening in that way, right? This is not like a short and stout. This is not the way it works, but you need to have your own combinations of knowing what to do between you versus them in this situation, right? That's what is going to be happening in that way, okay? So you think to yourself and you think to, all right, well, this is going to be happening. So let's see what's in the middle of this situation. And the 10 of Cups, there's incompletion, followed by the Sun carriers, there's negativity. Okay, so there's negativity on both sides. And 3 Pentacles, you want excitement. Yeah, because you want to have some excitement. You want to be like sure like everything's fine, but it's like I don't know what to do, don't know what to say. Yeah, it's very critical, right? And that's how critical it is, because about how you're feeling, right? It's like this is like almost a back and forth of the situation, no matter how the outcome is. So that's between the Virgo side. Judgment is you're taking action. Okay, what's on the right side for them? Sun carries over this positivity. Okay, what's in the middle? Carries over this progress. Okay, so that's what's going to be happening. So let's see what's happening with this judgment for you, Virgo. High Priestess, you're not showing your inner voice. Sorceress, there's no inspiration. Just so you're telling the truth. Exactly. You want things to happen one way or another, Virgo. That's what you want, and that's what you get. What's the Sun card for them? Sagittarius, they're making decisions. Taurus, there's completion. Empress, there's no nourishment. Hermit, there's solitude. Yeah, because they might be looking for a soulmate. Maybe they're into you, Virgo, maybe they're not, but it all depends on them, right? And who's them? It would be like Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus, Leo, Aries, Sagittarius, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. So all the 12 zodiac signs are on this side, on the right side, and you have to choose what's happening that way, okay? What's this theory about? Theory there's progress. Human regards, there's no restrictions. Theory there's transformation. Yeah, because everything's changing, right? Everything's changing right there in center, because that's what's going to impose of that situation. It's like, okay, well, this is going to be happening. This is the way it works. Yes. So now we understand what's happening in this whole entire reading now. Now it makes sense. Now we're going to still clarify. So there's lots of ways for me to clarify what the universe is going to say here. So let's see what's happening on the left side for Virgo. So we have the Taurus that says, create a structure, 2 weeks to 2 months. So you might be dealing with an earth sign as a Taurus. So let's see on the right side for them, they have Cancer. Respect your feelings, 4 weeks, 4 months. So it could be a water sign, as in a zodiac sign, because that's what's going to be happening in that way. Okay. Now what's in the middle? You have the Sagittarius. Find a new meaning. 9 weeks, 9 months. Exactly. So it all depends on what's happening in this reading, because that's what's going to be happening. Okay. So you might be dealing with a Taurus, Sagittarius, Cancer. So that's what you're basically having in one way or another. Let's see. These cards are kind of new as well. So Cosmic Insights, so you will see that in a moment. So I'm going to clarify the Virgo side, as in the left side. And this says, Guardian. A lost loved one watches over you. Yeah, it could be, you might think that, you're missing somebody. Maybe it could be a dog, a pet, maybe someone. Maybe you think that it could be one of your relatives that you haven't seen in a long time. That's what the pressure point is, Virgo, because on how that is. Okay. What's on the right side for them? Love spell. You have been bewitched. Yeah, exactly. So, for them, they might have a love spell on you because they might be in love with you. Maybe you don't know that, Virgo, but in many ways you might be thinking, well, this is true, or what's happening, but that's what it's going to be happening in that way. And what's in the middle? We have distance. You and your partner may be physically or emotionally distant. Yeah, exactly, right? So you might be thinking one or the other, because it all depends on your point of view, Virgo, and how you're feeling. So like I say, you might be dealing with another Sagittarius, you might deal with another Cancer or Taurus, but in many ways you need to focus on your own dignity and your own respect on what's going to be happening that way. Okay, so that's what the universe is saying between Guardian, distance, and love spell. So that's what's going to be happening. Now let's see what's going on. So I'm going to go from the left side for Virgo, the right side for them, and then the middle. So we have the Ten Pentacles, because you want to follow your career. Maybe you have a career, maybe you don't have a career, but Virgo, you need to depend on how you're feeling in that way, whether you need to be valuable, you need to be how you're feeling in that way, and you think that you need to have your own pressure point to understand how you're feeling. And if you want a career, you go ahead and do it if you decide to. Okay, Virgo? what's on the right side for them, you have the Hermit is reversed, by the way, so it's actually solitude, but it's reversed. So that's how it's going to be in that way. What's in the middle? Knight of Pentacles, sorry, they want, the universe is saying that they want trust, because they don't have trust, but then you need to have trust on them, on how they are feeling against you, Virgo, because on how distant you're feeling and how it's happening on them in that way. Okay. Now what's also with the solitude? 6-1, sorry, there's achievement. Exactly. So in that way, they are feeling that they want achievement. They might be dealing with their Leo, Aries, Sagittarius. By the way, this is if they're focusing on that now, that's how it's going to be happening in that way. Okay. So what's also with the 10 Pentacles for Virgo? For one, sorry, there's celebration. Exactly. You want to celebrate because you want things to be happening all at once, and that's what it seems to be. Okay. Now, what's also with this 4 wands here? 6 Pentacles first, there's no kindness. So basically, you're saying that you're being rude, you're being unkind, you're being unhelpful. The way of this is, if you turn that frown upside down, it will be making it a lot easier, right? It's like if you're saying that you're being unkind or miserable or how you're feeling, it's like that's not going to end very likely, right? So if you try to change your own emotions, try to do that, right? If you have your whatever happens with you and you think there's something that's happening, you need to focus on that. You need to focus about turn things around. Okay. So what's up with 6 Pentacles? Knight comes first, Knight comes first. You have no romance because you don't want to be romantic. That's very understandable. Queen comes first. There's no empathy, so there's no two sides of the story here. Interesting. Page comes first. You don't want any loyalty. Wow, Virgo. So in that way, you're saying to yourself, you don't need loyalty. That's how it is. Because you might be changing your own appearance, or you're going to look at things in a different point of view, right? What's up with this Page of Cups? Cancerous is no healing. Opposite. 8 Cups is up, but you want observation. Yeah, because you want to observe, right? You want to observe. You might have a deja vu moment. Maybe you think that, you think that you need to believe in yourself to have observation. It's like, why would people look at you? Maybe you think that, maybe you're thinking you're going to keep your distance. You need to act like you need to have somebody to be with you, which means that you need to have observation, whether if you want to be kind to them, you need to change your outcome. You need to be who you are, and you think that, okay, well, if I don't have loyalty, and I don't have to have respect, and I'm being unkind and being unworthy, whatever it is, you need to act like you need to observe on how people are going to look at you, right? So if you think that you need to do that, that's what's going to be happening in that way, right? So who knows, you might do this in our Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. So what's also with this trust? Hierophant is already, you want guidance. Yeah, so both of you want guidance. And that's what it's going to clarify. So what's also with this Hierophant? High Priestess, there's no inner voice here. Opposite. 5 Pentacles, you're feeling insecurity. So both of you are feeling insecurity, right? That's what it all depends on that way. So what's also with the 6 wands here for them? 8 wands first, there's no new beginnings. Opposite. 4 cups first, they don't have a distraction. because they don't need it. 9-1 reverse, there's no fear, so they're not going to have any fear. Opposite. 8-1 is ever they want speed. Yeah, because they want to speed things along. Right, and that's what's going to be happening. So they might be dealing with in their Leo, Aries, Sagittarius. Alright. So I can see this happening one way or another. What's also with this 5 Pentacles? Hammer reverse, there's no stillness because there's no restrictions. Opposite. Just reverse, there's no action. And just because it's upright, there's the past. Exactly. Like Virgo needs to be not drawn to the past, but it seems to be that way. What's also with his past? 9 Swords reverse, there's no trauma. No. But there's a 5 Swords, there's revenge and there's conflict. Exactly. In one way or another, when both of you have conflict with each other, it's not going to end well. But you need to understand whether if you have that some kind of conflict and you don't know what to do, it's never going to end. Right? So you might be doing it in a Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius. Because in one way or another you think that everything is going to be fine, but this is what the reading is, Virgo. You need to pay attention on how you're feeling in one way or another, right? If you want to observe, okay, go ahead. If they're having, speed, they want things to speed along, okay? But then when you get to this point, as in the 5 Swords is upright, you want revenge because you're acting like, I don't like this. But the way how this is, that's what it's going to be happening, right? So you need to understand on how you're going to value your own way and say, okay, well, this is the way it seems to be, this is the way it happens, this is going to be how it works, and you need to understand that because you need to focus on how you're feeling in one way or another, right? So if you think to yourself, Virgo, and you say, I'm having conflict, and you want people to look at you from a different perspective, and you're actually being, unkind, unworthy, you have all these emotions that you're going through, there's something happening. There was something that was very diligent, and very fragile. And it means that in one way or another, whether if you think that you need to focus on each other, go ahead and focus on each other. But when you're having the conflict, it all depends on how you're feeling. It all depends if you are focusing on their, Leo, Aries, Sagittarius, Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus, Gemini, Aquarius, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. If you think about all those 12 zodiac signs that I just mentioned to you, you need to focus on how you're feeling, right? You need to say that, okay, well, I need to have a nice day, I don't want to have a bad day, I don't know what I'm doing. Well, a Virgo needs to act like if she thinks that she needs to be valuable, that's what it seems to be, right? So it could be a Virgo or a man. It all depends on how you can look at it. But the way this is, you need to figure out how you're feeling, right? It's like that's what's going to be happening because no matter how you're going to feel in one way or another in your own daily routine, and you think that you want to have a beautiful day, and you think, okay, it's my turn, I'm going to have a beautiful day, alright, that's fine. But if you act like this, and you think that, well, I'm not having a beautiful day, I'm going to be having I'm going to be mean or rude or disrespectful, people are going to run away from you, right? And it's like, why are you saying like, nobody's not going to like me, or, the way how this is, no matter how you're going to be feeling, Virgo, you need to pay attention to how you're feeling, because the way of this is, if you focus on your emotions, you know, and when I'm saying about turn that frown upside down, you need to be happy, not like, oh, I'm gonna have a bad day, you know. If you want to have some kind of respect, go ahead and have some kind of respect. But if you're acting like you're, saying that you're being rude or you're being disrespectful, when I look at that, Six Pentacles reverse, and it means that there's no kindness. You're not being kind. You're just saying, woe is me, woe is me, woe is me, woe is me, because if you don't want to have that loyalty, and if people are back off and leave you alone, that's fine by you, but you need to focus on them. Maybe you need to turn things around. Maybe you're going to act you know nice one way or another. But it all depends on your emotions. It all depends on how you're feeling. And that's what the universe is saying, is that you're actually having conflict. And that's what is going to be happening. And it's like you're saying, conflict, I didn't do anything wrong. Well, it happens. It happens if you're in relationships or friendships, or whether if you're talking to somebody. It all depends on your point of view. It all depends on what you're going to be doing, what you're going to say. But if you want people to look at you, even if you have a different hairstyle, if you have a different way of showing yourself, you want people to look at you, you need to understand that. You need to be respectful, because that's what they want. Maybe they want something from you. Maybe they like you so much. I don't know, right? So that's what I'm trying to say is, so I hope you all like this video. Try to give a like, try to give a comment if you want, and I hope that you all enjoy this reading, and this is the way it happens, and enjoy of it, and that's what's going to be happening. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, 12, and I'll see you next time and do, and enjoy, because this is the way it is, and enjoy of how the reading is going to go. So thank you so much. Thank you. Bye for now, Ray. Thank you. Have a nice day. Thank you. Bye for now, Ray. Thank you. And